but it doesn't matter.
Wow, what a shot.
What's up guys, I'm Taylor with TK Disc Golf, and today Tyler and I took the new MVP Glitch out to Karl Von Coldewey Park in Milford, Ohio to see how this disc fares on some of these shorter fairways. If you haven't seen our review video, the Glitch is the new hybrid style catch disc that MVP is making with the flight numbers 1 speed, 7 glide, 0 turn, and 0 fade, making it an absolute blast to play catch with your friends and catch with the basket. This disc is PDGA approved, so it's absolute monster on those circle 2 and long approach shots if you're wanting to try to gain some strokes on the competition. Hey, let's take this thing out to the course and see who comes out on top between Tyler and I. Hole number 1 is pretty straightforward. It is about 210 feet straight ahead. You do have to keep it below those branches on that large, I guess it's like a maple or something like that. It is a headwind, so that was kind of throwing me off quite a bit. So it really got into my head. I'm like, I got to give it a ton of hyzer and keep it slow speed and low to keep it from flipping. And I wound up super short. I'm going to call that about 70 feet or so. And of course, like I mentioned earlier, I have to deal with those low branches now. But the Glitch does have 7 glides, so you can just give it a nice light frisbee toss and not have to worry about going too far past the basket because I happened to can the putt. Well, even if I missed that, it was going to go maybe to about where Tyler landed, which is about 20 feet. But we were both able to get the birdie to start off the day, which is always a good thing. Hole 2, pretty short, 195 downhill, so you really don't have to throw it too crazy hard. Tyler took that a little too serious, gave it a nice little toss. It's going to wind himself up probably like 45, 50 left of the pin. What I did here is pretty much perfect other than trying to run the basket. It's landing probably 15 feet away, nothing too crazy. Tyler, yeah, he's got a nice wide open frisbee toss at it. Thankfully, he didn't go into the rough or that creek that is to his left. And again, right off the get-go, we are throwing these things in from circle 2 all over the place. It really does feel like cheating on some of these circle 2 bids where, like, instead of going with a normal putting motion, you can just give it a light frisbee toss and not have to worry about going crazy long. And honestly, with that glide, just gives you an actual chance to throw in some of these longer C2 looks. Hole 3 is 215, and it is a dogleg left. So the catch cam here with my phone shows Tyler makes it to about 35 feet or so, not able to get the disc to hold a crazy hyzer. I am able to get it to hold that angle, but I drastically underpowered it. I'm going to wind up in the rough pretty badly. I do have an out though, so I'm going to be able to give it a nice spinny shot out of my chest. And as long as I hit the gap, that's my only goal. I mean, making it would have been sick, but I'm out. Easy par. Tyler with a, yeah, that crooked. These baskets are pretty old. They only have 1 layer of change, and they're all pretty crooked, so pretty glad that one stuck. Tyler was able to grab the birdie. I took a par, and Tyler's got a 1-stroke advantage. Hole 4 is a pretty cool hole. Obviously, normally you would go with a forehand from 195. It's right behind that massive tree with all the growth on it. Tyler throws a nice turnover line through that gap. It's going to give him a putt, but it's going to be quite downhill. I do a nice job of keeping it straight, but it is drifting ever so slightly. Ooh, I got a super good kick there. I forgot about that. But it kicks me down. I'll have a probably 50-foot Anheuser frisbee toss at it. And I turned it a little too much. I mean, with that angle, I would have had to throw it probably 10 feet wide of the basket to let it swing back in, but I made the mistake of throwing straight out the basket, and it turned and hit the tree just short. But we're going to both have some pretty routine par putts. But I already got a couple birdies and some pretty cool throw-ins so far in the round, so can't really complain too much. Hole 5 is 325 feet, which is an absolute crush for the Glitch. It's not going to make it all the way there, so this hole is going to be all about picking the landing zone. There is an OB creek to the left, so Tyler makes the honest mistake, drifts a little to the right, but he's going to have a nice Anheuser approach to the basket, no problem. Same direction as hole 1, so there is a little bit of a headwind even in the woods. So, of course, that gets into my mind, and I just yank it to the right. That was bad form, bad toss. Not really the disc's fault. That's what happens when you throw it flat into a headwind. I mean, it's pretty much exactly like an ultimate frisbee disc. It requires some hyzer, requires some touch when you're throwing in the headwind, and if you throw it flat, it's going to keep going right. So all it left me with was a pitch out. I'm going to have probably 110 feet, 120 feet to the basket for a chance to save bogey once I make this upcoming putt. Tyler's shot was actually pretty decent, so it didn't really go in the woods too bad, just a little bit into the rough on the right. He gets a good spit out, so he will be about 15 feet away. Should have an easy par putt ahead. These baskets, like I said earlier, are pretty rough. I don't know what brand they are, but they are pretty crooked, one row of chains. So Tyler's putt, unfortunately, just goes straight through, hits the pole, and spits out. So we're both going to be taking bogeys on hole 5, which is, I mean, it's one of the longer holes, a pretty long hole to be using a glitch the whole way, but realistically should have been able to walk away with par 3s on that. Hole 6 is 185 feet. I pulled that a little to the right. It was a great angle. It flew exactly how I released it. I just released it a little wide. However, I get the kick out of a lifetime, and that leaves me with maybe a 10-foot putt. Tyler follows me over there somehow and does not get the kick of a lifetime. So he's going to have about a 40-footer. But honestly, it's a good placement. He could have been much worse. It gives him a nice straddle putt look. And he's able to save the birdie from there. That's pretty crazy. So Tyler has made quite a few nice little throw-ins, some good putts to stay pretty clean other than that one unfortunate spit out. But we're both able to snag some birdies to get to 3 under and 2 under. Hole 7 is honestly one of my favorite holes on the course. It's about 200 feet and it's a dogleg right, but you have a nice gap to hit off the tee, and then you really just have to commit to that turning shot. Tyler clips a tree, it starts to kick him towards the basket, but then he hits something else and it drops him straight down. So he's going to have a really long look if he wants to make that birdie. I'm lining up a little bit wider shot, really trusting that the disc can hold that flex and hyzer, and trust it's just going to hold it all the way to the pin, and it sure does. I wish I would have had the catch cam set up. My phone died at that point, and I'm pretty much parked. Tyler, I'm going to call that about 45, 50 feet. I mean, it was a dude, he's killing it with these frisbee throws, man. I mentioned it earlier. This disc literally feels like cheating from circle 2. I think this is where the disc is going to shine, inside 100 feet. If you get a wide open look, not much wind, you can just throw a nice frisbee toss at it. You're really going to increase your chances of snagging some of these stroke savers like that. But we're both able to snag some birdies. Hole 8, wide open, straight there in front of you. It says 205. Personally, I think it's probably like 170, 180. The tee signs on this hole aren't necessarily the most accurate. I was just going what was on the sign. Tyler puts himself inside circle, as I do as well. Drifts a little to the right. Could have put a little more hyzer on that. But we both got pretty much identical putts. Again, I miss it wide again. I need to get that thing a little bit more on hyzer. It's like throwing an ultimate disc. A little bit of pop, a little bit of hyzer, it's going to fly dead straight. If you throw it flat, it is going to drift a little bit, especially with some spin. Tyler's able to correct that mistake, even with the anhyzer putt, and snags a birdie, putting 2 strokes ahead of me, going into the final hole, which is hole 9. 375 feet, by far the hardest hole in the course. Even with a regular disc, it is a very tricky angle. So playing this hole with glitches, pretty tough. There's that creek down there where you can see the bridge. Tyler made it over. I was like, I want nothing to do with that. I'm just going to toss it down to the bridge and pick a gap down there and play this hole for a 3. You can see I landed just short of the bridge. Nice little gap right there. Lane's a little shorter than I want, but it's going to work. It'll leave me like a 70-foot uphill shot. I'll have a chance to save 3 since we've been throwing these things in all day. Tyler throws the high anhyzer. You can see the basket there finally up on the hill. Pretty cool hole, to be honest. It's really fun when you're actually playing with some real discs. Like if you throw like a flex forehand, you can get it there, or a nice skippy hyzer. You can at least get to the base of the hill and make a long putt. It had the height, it was just a little wide. So that's going to end my run. I'm going to tap that thing in for, unfortunately, a bogey. It really feels just like it kind of feels like a par 3.5 hole, especially playing with the glitch. So can't be too upset with a 4 on that. Tyler's able to save the 3 though, so he's going to finish the round at -5, and I will finish at -2. Man, what an absolute battle that was. I had a lot of fun playing with Tyler for this round. I do have to say, for myself personally, I think I'm going to be using the glitch inside 100 feet pretty much. Those longer throws, especially on the holes that were like 200 plus at this course, I've never been that guy that can throw an Ultra Star or an Ultimate Frisbee disc like all the way across the entire football field like Brody Smith essentially. You have to have really good Frisbee form for that, and I just don't have that. Tyler's always had a little bit better Frisbee form than me. He's always been able to throw the Zephyr and the Ultra Stars farther than I can, so he was having a lot of success keeping it on the right angles to be able to keep it laser straight and actually get the distance, versus me, especially on some of those holes that had the headwind. I was having a lot of trouble and like second guessing myself in my mind on what angle to throw it on, how much power to give it, how much spin. It definitely requires the touch. It's not like an Envy where you can trust that it's super torque resistant, throw it board flat, and it's an Envy. You know what it's going to do. This one, it is very predictable and you can control it very well. It's just that's not my style of play. So for me, 100 feet and in, it's going to be amazing. I was able to throw in obviously some really cool long circle 2 and outside circle 2 throws, but like I said, it's that those headwind shots off the tee. I'm going to stick to my typical disc golf discs for that. But for the scrambles, it's going to be an absolute blast for anybody. I do want to thank you guys for watching this different style video, I guess, because we really don't do filmed rounds that much. If you like what you see, drop a comment and let us know. And subscribe so you can stay up to date. And we'll see you on the next one.